there's one thing that this movie makes perfectly clear, it's that even back in the 90s, sometimes Hollywood just phoned it in. How ironic is it that the tagline on the DVD cover reads, "Destroy all expectations." What, did Rian Johnson make this movie? Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Get over here! It's almost unfathomable to me how poorly this movie turned out. I mean, it had a bigger budget, it had a wealth of video game content to adapt, it had a pretty epic setup at the end of the first Mortal Kombat movie. All they really had to do was just keep that same energy. Instead, they literally took everything I liked about the original Mortal Kombat and removed it for the sequel.
Fuck me, right?
I complimented the original on how it delivered exposition, both to the characters and to the audience. But right away in this one, they have this shitty voiceover that's recapping the events of the original movie. They're not off to a good start. Things are further complicated by the recasting of Sonya, Johnny Cage, and Raiden. It makes it so much more awkward when this movie is supposed to pick up immediately following the original movie. I love Johnny Cage, but it's not really too consequential that they recasted him because he dies almost immediately. Actually, you wonder why they even bothered to recast him at all. The recasting of Sonya was a swing and a miss here because this actress is actually more wooden than the one that played her last time. She actually manages to make Sonya an even more boring character than she already was. I mentioned how it was a bit weird to have Christopher Lambert as Raiden in the original, but they doubled down in Mortal Kombat Annihilation and got an even whiter guy to play him this time, in James Remar. I like James Remar, but I'm just gonna say it, in this movie the writing didn't do him any favors. There's a moment in the movie where he gets a haircut, and his personality literally changes with his haircut.
Raiden? It's a new look.
Another thing I found weird is that they have a regular dude in a mask playing Shao Kahn. A little strange considering they actually show him at the end of the first movie, and he looks nothing like that. It seems like a practical effects creation might have been more appropriate for that character. This is gonna sound weird, but this is a very flippy movie. And what do I mean by that? Nobody walks, they all flip to where they have to go. It's like the Power Rangers in an independent wrestling show had a baby, and out came Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Another thing that I mentioned I loved about the original was that they gave all the characters their individual motivations. And surprise, surprise, they didn't bother to do any of that in the sequel. They try to set up a revenge angle for Sonya when Johnny Cage dies, but it's pretty much dropped halfway through the movie. Remember Liu Kang's arc from the first movie about letting go of his guilt and overcoming Shang Tsung? Well, for some reason, people are bringing that back up and still trying to use his guilt against him. I thought all this was resolved. They couldn't think of anything for Liu Kang to go through, so they just gave him the same character arc he had in the first movie. I'm going to quickly mention Jax as well, who's basically set up as a replacement for Johnny Cage. But Jax's dialogue in this movie is so god-awful, it just made me cringe every time he opened his mouth.
I've known you 1 minute, and you dissing me already?
Oh, and remember how awesome the set design was in the first movie? You figure with a bigger budget, they could do something even crazier in this movie. But nope, wrong again. In fact, most of this movie takes place in this boring-ass desert location. The sets from the original Mortal Kombat look like they were ripped right out of the game. The closest we get to that in this movie is Shao Kahn's CGI palace. And yeah, it's not very impressive. Oh, and then there's the hamster balls that they use for transportation. I guess portals take too much time and money to create, and they had to fill out the runtime somehow. Remember how cool all the side villains were in the original Mortal Kombat? This time they're all forgettable, so much so that they're not even worth mentioning almost. They cared so little about these characters that the character of Raiden literally gets killed in the most ridiculous way possible. They basically Boba Fetted him.
It will never happen again.
And Shiva basically dies when a cage falls on top of her. These villains aren't intimidating at all. Scorpion and Sub-Zero do return. Briefly, well, sort of. And technically the Sub-Zero in this movie is supposed to be the Sub-Zero from the first movie's brother, just unmasked. And Scorpion's return, well, isn't really explained because he basically got his head chopped in half in the last movie. And they pretty much bring Scorpion back for no reason because after he kidnaps Katana, he's basically never seen again. But we do get this awesome line delivery from him in the only scene that he's in.
suckers!
So everything's pretty much been worse with the bigger budget, and I'm going to include costume design in that as well. These costumes are basically piss poor cosplay quality. Actually, there's cosplay that are much better than what's in this movie. Remember how each fight felt unique and memorable in the first movie? In this movie, each fight is completely random, and each one is not very memorable at all. I think the most hilarious part of Mortal Kombat Annihilation is the scene where Nightwolf says he's going to give Liu Kang 3 tests that I guess if he completes, somehow Liu Kang unlocks the power of animalities. A power which he does use at the end of the movie in the final fight with Shao Kahn, but it really doesn't help him at all. It's basically a moment just for Shao Kahn and Liu Kang to turn into these ridiculous looking CGI creatures, and this transformation doesn't really resolve their conflict at all. So all of this was for nothing. This is normally where I'd preach the importance of practical effects, but the practical effects in this movie suck also, so that wouldn't really help either. All you have to do is look at the character of Baraka and see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, we wait all the way up until the final moments of this movie to hear that iconic Mortal Kombat theme. Why they didn't use it more, I have no idea. Even when the credits roll, they're playing this generic techno song that no one knows. By the end of it all, Liu Kang wins, Raiden becomes an elemental god, and this whole movie proved to be a huge waste of time. It's really a shame how this movie turned out because I think it was a huge missed opportunity by the studio. It's clear to me that the whole production of this thing was just phoned in, and they were just looking for a cash grab to capitalize off the success of the original movie. No one cared enough about the source material to actually do any research and try to make these characters reflect who they are in the video game. So as a result, we get this hollow shell of a movie that's Mortal Kombat in name only. So I'm going to give Mortal Kombat Annihilation the Disgusted Ian Malcolm.
That is one big pile of shit.
So have you seen Mortal Kombat Annihilation? I hope you haven't. Let me know about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.